Live, local, and talking about the teams that matter to you. This is Talkin Sports with Jim Shovlin on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Brought to you by McMahon's Best One Tire and Auto Care.
And good morning. This is Talkin Sports here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. Pleasure being with you each and every Saturday morning. Here talking local, regional, and a little bit of national sports here on Talkin Sports. DC Hendrix here. The producer of Talkin Sports, Jim Shovlin, is out today as his JV team at Leo. I think they're playing in their final game, last game of the season. And Shovlin, one of the coaches, of course, on the road with the team. Leo JV baseball on their way to Goshen to play Fairfield High School. Last game of the season, and his Leo Lions JV team is 17-4 on the season, so getting ready to wrap up a big season. So shout out to Jim Shovlin for letting me sit in the chair today and fill in this hour. And, of course, we got a lot to get to, so let's not waste any time as we got to get out of here before the top of the hour because there is high school baseball broadcast at the top of the hour, and we want to make sure to get out and make way for Huntington North and Leo, and the pregame starts right after this show. So tons to get to. The text line is always open at 260-447-8500. That is 260-447-8500. That is the best way to be a part of the show. And do we have a lot to talk about this morning? Got to start off with the big news that kind of hit me pretty heavy this past week, to be completely honest. So had a busy week this past week. Baseball. You know, I'm a big baseball guy. Of course, I got the 260 Dugout podcast that I host and highlight baseball in the 260. And had a busy week. I've been enjoying a lot of high school baseball. I got to watch 2 senior night games. I got to check out Concordia's senior night against Wayne yesterday. Got to check that one out. Concordia beat them 13-1, so got to watch that one. Got to watch a little bit of Southside Northrop, and they actually play today as well, I think at 11 o'clock out at Northrop. So high school baseball, got to watch the Snyder Panthers defeat Bishop Dwenger in a doubleheader at the World Baseball Academy to claim the conference championship. So the Snyder Panthers are your conference champions, and got to watch Tincaps yesterday, get a big dub. Tincaps looking good right now. Tons coming up for them. And, of course, Mike Nutter, the team president, will join us later on in the show. But I've also been enjoying some college baseball. You know, I've been really enjoying the Osterhaus bandwagon. Of course, you know, we were on it long before I was telling Shovlin about him last year in his freshman season. But he's had a big last couple of weeks. So I think extra eyeballs were on Osterhaus and the Purdue Fort Wayne baseball program. And so I'm looking online, and yesterday, I'm scrolling social media, and I get hit by the news out of nowhere as their season came to a close. Apparently, the program has now come to a close. Purdue University of Fort Wayne announced on Friday the discontinuation of its baseball and softball programs effective immediately. Literally just, I'm sure it was 24 hours after the baseball season ended, so rough way to end. The decision, which includes an expected cost savings of upwards of $1 million, is directly related to $6 million in budget cuts the university announced on Thursday. So no more baseball and softball programs at Purdue University of Fort Wayne. Of course, you can weigh in your thoughts. 260-447-8500 is the text line. So that was the biggest news for me this past week. Just really hit me kind of hard. So now all these, student athletes have to transfer, I guess, find a new school. Osterhaus, who will probably have the easier recruiting trail compared to some of the other players, but it's tough. And you got to talk about, the high school players that have committed to this program as well that now have to reopen their commitment. So really tough time. We have, and one of the Division I baseball program we have here. We also have St. Francis and Indiana Tech NAIA programs, but we had one Division I baseball program here, and that was Purdue Fort Wayne, who did a great job recruiting locally and regionally. So really tough. It's going to be really tough not to have Purdue Fort Wayne baseball program. Coach Schraber had a great program there. I know it's really sad. It's really sad times, saddest days. Kelly Hartley Hutton, the athletic director of Purdue Fort Wayne, said, in quote, "This is one of the saddest days in her 24 years as a Mastodon." So it's tough. It's tough news. 260-447-8500 is the text line. And we have IHSAA news to talk about, as well as I I think he's joining me in studio. That threw me off. I think he just misses us. I'll just say he'll miss me. I think he misses me. I think that's why he's coming in. But Justin Kinney of OutsideTheHuddle.net is going to be joining us here. We got a lot to talk about at the high school level as IHSAA approves a new transfer rule that I think could make things worse. We'll see. But also girls flag football, an emerging sport. IHSAA announcing some big news. So Justin Kinney, who pretty much is the go-to for high school sports, the authority here in the 260 area, we'll be talking to him. We have John Nolan today, who I wanted to bring on the 260 Dugout podcast at first, but I was like, you know what? I don't want to spend 20, 30 minutes just reflecting on the Tincaps. So we will reflect a little bit on the Tincaps, but I also want to talk a little Indiana Fever with John Nolan and kind of turn the page as he still, he gets a much deserved gig with the Indiana Fever and a growing team in its own. So John Nolan will be joining us here at around 9:30. Justin Kinney will be joining us here in about actually 4 minutes. I think he's almost pulling up at this point. And Mike Nutter, team president of the Fort Wayne Tincaps, will join us to wrap up the show before we make way for Huntington North and Leo. So, yeah, tough news this past week with the Purdue-Fort Wayne baseball program. It's always tough to see, local sports being cut, especially the budgets. And I believe Justin Kinney is alum at IPFW, so we might have to get his opinion when he gets here as well. But Purdue-Fort Wayne remains fully committed to competing at the highest level Division I athletics as a member of the Horizon League, and they unfortunately had to make some budget cuts, and part of those budget cuts was the baseball and softball program. I will say, just from my personal experience, it was a little tough to attend. My first time going to the games anyway, it's kind of tough to attend some of the games. Like, you got to find, parking is kind of an issue over there at the baseball field. I think that could have, been an issue for some people in terms of attendance. But I don't understand why the baseball and softball programs were the things that had to be cut. It could just be me being the baseball guy that I am. I don't like to see any of that happening. But yeah, we'll discuss a little bit more of that with Justin Kinney when he comes in and get his opinion. But yeah, 260-447-8500 is the text line. Also, I got some flack yesterday. So I was enjoying the game last night, watching a little bit of NBA, which I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. Glutton for punishment, whatever you want to say, when you attempt to watch NBA these days. But I'm still trying to cheer for the Indiana Pacers. I'm trying, folks. Gotta admit, a little bit of sour taste the way the Mad Ants did us. And I caught some flack last night from one of my buddies. It's like, you're still cheering for the Pacers? Like, yeah, they're still an Indiana team. He's like, no, I don't. I'm like, you don't want the Pacers to do good? He's like, nah, can't cheer for them anymore because of the Mad Ants. So apparently I'm not allowed to cheer for the Pacers anymore, according to my buddy last night. He's listening right now, so I'm calling him out. I don't want to say his name, but I am still very excited for the Indiana Pacers as they are only 2 wins away from an NBA Finals appearance, the second time in their franchise's history. I remember they made it back in 2000. I was a youngster, but I remember watching it like it was yesterday. And this could be, I don't want to speak too soon, but as of right now, the New York Knicks look completely overmatched. I know that's making our buddy Adam Lundy very happy, but the Knicks look completely outmatched. The Pacers they're deeper. I think that's what it comes down to. They can go deeper on their roster. They have more depth on their team. And when it comes down to it, Brunson, who won Clutch Player of the Year, hasn't been very clutch so far in this series. And in fact, Siakam was the hero in last night's game. 39 points in the victory as the Pacers took a 2-0 series lead in the series. So Pacers, again, like I said, 2 wins away from an NBA Finals appearance. What do you think? Are you following the Pacers? Or are you like my buddy and kind of cut them out of your life after the way the Mad Ants did us here in Fort Wayne? I'm still cheering for the Pacers as we don't have much to cheer about, to be completely honest, in the state of Indiana in terms of sports. So I'll take what I can get, folks. Indiana Pacers, 2-0 series lead over the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. You know what? We're going to take a break. We're going to come right back because I think Justin Kinney just pulled in. So we got a lot to talk about. IHSAA approves new transfer rule. I'm going to ask him about Purdue-Fort Wayne. Discontinuing their baseball, softball programs, more high school sports, all coming up. Justin Kinney joins us right after the break. This is DC Hendrix. This is Talkin Sports on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Take 1380 The Fan with you wherever you go with the free 1380 The Fan app. Listen to our shows including Dan Patrick, Colin Cowherd, and The Sports Rush with Brett Rump, Plus, you can go to our social media pages and download the latest episodes of our podcasts on demand and listen to live events and alternate broadcasts too. Download the free 1380 The Fan app for your smartphone today. Only on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
The Fort Wayne Tincaps scored the game's first run on Thursday night, but Cedar Rapids countered with 3 unanswered runs. Colonels win by a score of 3-1 in Game 2 of a 6-game series. Teams will play a pair of 7-inning games on Friday night. First game will start at 5:35. Second game 30 minutes after the completion of Game 1. If you can't make the game in person, join us for the broadcast, starting with Tincaps on deck at 5:15 here on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Are you ready to embrace a new opportunity? Do you get fulfillment out of helping others? Are you a self-starter who loves to make your own schedule and can still work well with others? Maybe you're someone who needs a career with flexible PTO, the flexibility to take the time off when you need to and how often you need to, and are still able to perform your job at the highest level. If this sounds like a fit, we'd love to hear from you. Email your resume to salescareers@federatedmedia.com or text talent to 45364. Federated Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Do you know a veteran in need? After leaving the military, many veterans struggle to find their way home. Because to a veteran, home isn't just a place, it's an idea, a feeling. Nation's Finest understands the challenges veterans face. Through the VA's Supportive Services for Veteran Families program, we help veterans and their families struggling with rent, employment, and other housing-related costs. Today, Nation's Finest operates more than 30 locations in California, Arizona, and Nevada. For more than 50 years, we've helped thousands of veterans in these communities build happy, healthy, and purposeful lives. And our team is committed to supporting those who've served and their families for another 50. To get help, visit nationsfinest.org or call 1-833-468-9676. That's 1-833-468-9676.
Mama, what does the chicken say?
Chicken. Oh, okay.
When the wolf?
Oh, a wolf. Ooh!
What about the tiny dog? Cat? Owl? Dolphin? What does the turkey say? Whale?
No, whale sound.
Do the giraffe?
Giraffe, really? Okay. Giraffe.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right.
Visit NHTSA.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. And with your help, together we can end hunger. Join the movement at feedingamerica.org/act now. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Now back to Talkin Sports with Jim Shovlin on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
And welcome back. This is Talkin Sports here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. DC Hendrix filling in for Jim Shovlin this week as he is on the road to Goshen. Leo Lions JV baseball program wrapping up their season today. And, of course, Jim Shovlin, one of the coaches. So he's on the road, which leaves me the chair. So I'm filling in. Amateur hour here on Talkin Sports. But pleasure being with you. Of course, as always, the text line is open. That is the best way to be a part of the show. 260-447-8500. And guess what? I get to see a familiar face that I have not seen in a long time. It feels too long to be honest. And I missed this guy, and he missed me. That's why he came in. At least that's what I'm going to use while he's joining us. But Justin Kinney from OutsideTheHuddle.net, my man. What's going on, man? Good morning.
Morning, DC. How are you?
I'm doing really good. First,
it's good to see you, and far from amateur hour when you're in the seat, man. It's always a pleasure listening to you, and you know, you sell yourself short, too, with the impact that you've had around this area, too, whether it's radio, whether it's writing and all that stuff. So it's good to be on with you this morning.
Oh, shucks. That's why we got him in, folks. But no, there's a lot to talk about. So before we even get started on the topics that we have, you obviously stopped in here on the way somewhere. So
right.
what were you up to this morning?
Well, over at OPS Ash Center, which is the facility that I help run operations at, we got USA Boxing today over on the turf. So I think it's kind of like Golden Gloves, like kids, I think, today. But it's the real deal. Like a doctor's over there. They got weigh-ins, all that stuff. So I'm heading over there to facilitate that. So it's not just baseball in springtime, I guess. It's boxing season. So we got that going on over at the Ash Center today.
Nice. Busy, man.
Right?
I mean, what do you not do over there?
A little bit of everything, man. I just there's never a quiet time at the Ash, really. I mean, football at this time of year with our football training, it kind of takes a back seat because, especially with the high school level, they should be with their schools. First was spring, and then summer, and obviously in the fall. But we got basketball stuff going on. Football training's ongoing still. No matter the age, we're going to talk about girls' flag here in a little bit. And we've added a girls' flag class for girls specifically to come in and get work because of the absolute busting out of this sport in the state and the country for quite that matter. So a little bit of everything going on at OPS, but our core is still football training for all ages and our rec leagues and the yard program and all that stuff. So check us out, opsfootball.com.
Love it. Great plug. And so I mentioned it when you were on your way in. Okay. So I mentioned that the news that hit me the hardest this past week, and I think that's on a lot of people's mind. Everyone was sharing their thoughts on social media. And you're an alum of IPFW,
I am,
correct?
Yeah.
So how did the news, your first reaction when you seen the news come out yesterday that the University of Purdue Fort Wayne discontinued their baseball and softball program due to budget cuts?
It was tough news. We had heard the day before about the elimination of 45 positions over at Purdue Fort Wayne, which was rough to hear. We thought maybe that was it. And then the hammer drops with baseball and softball. And I spent a lot of time around the softball program at Purdue Fort Wayne. My girlfriend at the time played softball there. So I watched way more softball than the typical student would at Purdue Fort Wayne, and it was right adjacent to the baseball field, so we naturally saw a lot of baseball. And it's just the changing landscape. A lot of people want to point to NIL, but with the state eliminating over $6 million in public funding to Purdue Fort Wayne, they had to make cuts somewhere.
Right.
And unfortunately, it impacted the athletics program. My question going forward is there's a minimum amount of sports that you can have to be a Division I institution. And I think the number's at 14. And now I believe Purdue Fort Wayne is at 12. So my question is, does the parameter change by the NCAA to allow lower sports, a lower amount of sports to still remain D1? Because you look at Purdue Fort Wayne and the threshold that maybe they're on in terms of still staying Division I. So it was really tough to see. There's been a lot of really good players. I mean, just recently it was nationwide news with 4 homers in one game, right?
Yep.
And so you have to think about.
Then hit a grand slam the next game.
Right? I mean, it was wild. So you look at how it impacts the coaches, the kids, and like you mentioned before the break, the kids that are committed to Purdue Fort Wayne, baseball or softball, now they're all of a sudden, after graduating or on the eve of high school graduation, now what do? They have to find another school to go to. There's never a good time for this to happen. It was not an easy decision. I guarantee you that. And I know there's going to be a lot of finger pointing and blaming around Purdue Fort Wayne, and I don't necessarily know if that's fair because it is incredibly difficult to make incredibly difficult decisions. But, that state funding going away, and I think you look at Purdue Fort Wayne and being directly impacted by that. So, hopefully things can get pointed back in the right direction, and maybe you add it back on at some point because it's a big part of the campus in terms of space. I mean, the baseball and softball fields are right there on campus. So you hope in the future it can come back. But, man, it was a rough day for a lot of people yesterday.
Oh, tons. The baseball community takes another hit here in the 260. But, yeah, I definitely wanted to get your thoughts on that. I think that was the biggest news, at least in the past couple of days. And a good point. I did confirm they do now have 12 athletic programs, so they'll have to either re-add them eventually?
Add to or get a waiver or something from the NCAA. I don't know how that works.
Or football? No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I had to. Football at Purdue Fort Wayne, thoughts?
The wealthy alums, of which I am not one, would really have to step up and throw a lot of money at the athletics program to get that off the ground. I'd love to see it, but they can't be counting on me to finance that. That's for sure.
Come on, don't say you said I sell myself short. Wealthy alum of Purdue Fort Wayne,
sure.
Justin Kennedy.
In parentheses or in quotations.
I'm gonna announce you as that when you are a guest on the show.
A wealthy alum
of Purdue Fort Wayne, Justin Kennedy. But no, the big reason I brought you in this morning. I did see some news, so got to give full disclosure. Had a listener send me this tweet, okay? And they were like, hey, I don't know if you've seen this news, about IHSAA approving new transfer rules. Think you should, get a guest on it and talk about it. Justin Kennedy is obviously the guy to go to for that. So I wanted to give them some credit for bringing this up because I think I seen it like scrolling, but it was just like, in the middle of the night. So I was just kind of like, oh, okay, and kept scrolling. But it's a big deal. So IHSAA approves new transfer rules for Indiana high school athletes. So I mentioned it earlier, but can you more in depth break it down of the new transfer rules and what and how it changes high school athletics?
Sure. Well, this goes into effect on June 1. So next Sunday is effectively athletes are granted one quote unquote free transfer over the course of their high school careers in which they do not have to sit out any time. Now, when you say that, all of a sudden everybody's ears perk up and say, well, it's going to be open season. And it could be, but there are still a lot of regulations when it comes to transferring in the state of Indiana. And so I think that's where the misconception is people all of a sudden feel like this is going to be open season. And I think athletes also think that, hey, I can go out there and just transfer wherever I want, whenever I want.
Right.
And the important thing is to understand that this is not just some open door with all cases. There are still going to be rules in place. So I know a lot of people are looking at football and basketball in particular and how that's going to change the dynamic in the city and in the area with players on the move. I just don't know if we're going to see the amount of movement that people think we're going to see.
Yeah, because the first reaction, people are going to be like, oh, well, so high school has basically become free agency. Right,
which I don't really see that happening. I mean, you could make the argument that it already is in Fort Wayne Community Schools because it's open in terms of where you want to go between 8th and 9th grade. You can go wherever, any of the 5 high schools you want right now. So it kind of already is almost free agency between 8th and 9th grade in the city at least. But I think there's some things to remember. I think you look at seniors. So I think that's a big rule, too, that people don't understand is if you're a junior, as soon as you finish your junior year, you are a senior. And you cannot transfer without penalty if you're a senior. And so that is going to be one of the big rules that people find out and parents find out if they're trying to move their kid for 1 year, junior to senior year. You have to transfer to get the without penalty in the first 6 semesters of your high school career, which is your first 3 years. As soon as you finish your junior season or junior year, you are a senior and you cannot transfer without penalty. And then you also look at some of the other things. Obviously, school district rules still apply. So you look at closed districts like Homestead and Carroll. Hey, if you want to transfer to one of those, you better live in the district or at least have an address in the district. And then undue influence still is a big thing. Pass link is still a big thing. So let's say you play for a coach in AAU or 7-on-7 or a trainer that trains you in one of those and you want to go to a school that they're at. There are still flags that can be raised and those things potentially blocked due to undue influence and pass link. So I think at face value, people think, oh, crap, here we go. But there are still a lot of parameters and checks and balances that are going to be in place. This kind of maybe, if anything, clarifies a lot of what was previously muddled and confusing.
So you think this is actually going to help in a certain way? Like it's not necessarily going to make things worse. It's just kind of putting some guidelines into place more.
Yeah, I think so, and I think a lot of kids and a lot of parents are going to find that out, that this isn't just open season, right?
Right.
You can still easily go public to private or private to public if you say one word, and that's God. Mm-hmm. Either you fell in love with God or you fell out of love with God, and there's really no fighting that. As long as, and this is the big thing, as I tell everybody, if you don't really outwardly tell a lot of people the reason you're transferring is for athletic purposes, more than likely it's going to go through.
Right.
If you keep your mouth shut, if you follow the right protocol, more than likely you're going to be approved. But if you spout off at the mouth and it's obvious you're doing this for athletic purposes.
My kid wasn't playing enough at so-and-so.
Exactly.
So
I want to go over here because he's got a better chance to play quarterback or point guard or, setter or whatever. Then, that's going to be a problem. So basically it's I think it's going to make things easier to enforce. But I also am going to be very interested to see some of these. We're going to inevitably have cases where parents think, hey, I can go anywhere I want. Mm-hmm. Good luck still transferring within Fort Wayne Community Schools from Northrop to Snyder, for example. Mm-hmm. Unless you move into the Snyder district, good luck doing that. Mm-hmm. Unless you're going there as a freshman. So I really have a hard time seeing this. There's going to be instances. Are there going to be more transfers? Probably.
Yeah.
But are there going to be this crazy amount of transfers? I have a hard time seeing it. And here's another point, too. A lot of people are pointing the blame at the IHSAA for this. Mm-hmm. The IHSAA approved the rule, but it was basically enforced upon them by the state lawmakers in the State House because they were pushing. Their whole thing right now is school choice, and the whole battle between voucher money and public versus private has bled into now athletics because they're forcing school choice or athletics as well. Mm-hmm. So this was a proactive move by the IHSAA before the lawmakers basically said, you have to do this. So if you want to point the blame at anybody, point the blame at your elected lawmakers at the State House because this has been pushed through and the IHSAA just had to do it before they were made to.
Absolutely. We'll have to keep, as this school year comes to a close, we'll have to keep an eye on social media to see if anybody starts changing their profile.
Right. Well, yeah, there's already been cases of that. And that's the thing is I think kids and parents have it in their mind that this is going to be a lot easier than it's actually going to be.
Mm-hmm. 260-447-8500 is the text line. One more thing I wanted to get your thoughts on because I know we have John Nolan in a couple of minutes. So also, in addition to the new transfer rules, girls flag football, an emerging sport, was announced as well. Talk about your opinion on girls flag football, and we already got St. Francis is already launching their program. Your thoughts on the emerging sport of girls flag football and athletics as well?
It's amazing. And last year you had all 5 Fort Wayne community schools have flag teams, had a flag tournament out at Southside to conclude the season, which was really cool. And it's really cool to see because the popularity of flag football obviously is exploding. We're seeing it as a sport added to the Olympics coming up. And it's a really cool thing because there is a lot of talent on the ladies' side that is just natural athletic ability that fits into what flag football is. And it's just a phenomenal opportunity. I'd love to see within a couple years every SAC team have a team, and we have a SAC champion for girls flag football. But it's really cool to see. It's been named an emerging sport by the IHSAA, which means if it can continue to grow and get to 100 teams, it could be a sanctioned sport like we saw men's volleyball recently become at the high school level. So really cool to see. And I'll come back around too and say, here at OPS, starting girls flag training, middle school and high school girls. Check us out, opsfootball.com. We're providing that training directly tied into this emerging sport, and it's really cool to see. And I hope to see more area teams this year have teams because Fort Wayne Community Schools is ahead of the curve, so to speak, and we saw that last year, and it was really cool to see. And hopefully we see some more teams throughout the area this year.
Probably bring you on every week. We might be starting that. We're going to be starting that soon. Football season will be here before we know it.
Oh, I know. Absolutely.
But this summer, I'm sure there's a lot more we want to bring you in for. Plus, I just want to see you, man.
Oh, likewise, man.
Don't be a stranger.
All right, brother. Appreciate you.
All right, yep. Justin Kinney joining us here in studio here on Talkin Sports on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. We'll take a quick break. Again, the text line is open. 260-447-8500 is the best way to be a part of the show. Take a quick break. We'll come back. John Nolan, new radio voice of the Indiana Fever. I think it's radio, TV, one of them. He's everywhere. He does a little bit of everything. But John Nolan is going to join us to reflect a little bit on the Tincaps and his new gig with the Indiana Fever. We'll be right back on Talkin Sports, 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
When I started DuPont Family Dentistry here in Fort Wayne 25 years ago, I never imagined the incredible journey it would take me on. Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Deal. Over my career, I have been privileged with helping patients restore confidence in their smiles. We not only see smile transformations, we see lives transformed. And along the way, we have also built some great relationships. However, as time went on, I noticed a growing need, one that just wasn't being fully met when it came to dentures and our denture patients. They needed better. That's why I'm so excited to introduce New Hope Digital Dentures, a dental practice dedicated to creating the most comfortable, best fitting, and affordable dentures possible. Our technology, our team, and our in-house 3D dental lab have revolutionized the way dentures are made. If you are ready to upgrade to new, better fitting dentures or are ready for a smile that restores your confidence, give us a call today at 260-247-6300. We are located right next to DuPont Family Dentistry. That's 260-247-6300. Let us help you discover what a new smile can do for you.
As our loved ones age, ensuring their safety at home becomes a top priority. This is Tina McIntosh, president of Joy's House and co-host of the Caregiver Crossing radio program. I'll be right back with some practical things you can do to reduce the possibility of a fall or injury.
Cardon and Associates offers the finest senior living options tailored to your loved one's needs. Reservations are now being accepted for new apartments at Copper Trace in Westfield. Visit cardon.com.
Removing tripping hazards such as rugs and floor clutter is one way to prevent or minimize falls around the home. Another is to position grab bars in the restroom and other common areas where your loved one may need some extra support. Contact your local area agency on aging to inquire about low-cost or free installation services. More tips like this are available anytime at caregivercrossingradio.org. With new weekly content created by Joy's House and distributed in partnership with Network Indiana, we're an on-air and online support group for Hoosier family caregivers. Hear conversations with experts, access the library of online education, and more at caregivercrossingradio.org.
Over 45 million Americans are taking a trip out of town this month as we kick off summer driving season. Are you one of them? And is your car ready? Before you hit the road for your summer travel, make sure your car is running its best with help from the honest, trusted, and knowledgeable mechanics at Ed's Car Care Center. Ed's Car Care Center on Clinton, just north of Auburn Road. For routine seasonal maintenance or restoration work, contact Ed's Car Care Center. If your vehicle is out of warranty, take it to Ed's Car Care Center for all of your vehicles, from domestic to foreign, even exotics and classics. They've got technicians that specialize in Mercedes, BMW, and other luxury sports cars, and also technicians that specialize in our daily drivers, Ford, Honda, Chevy, Dodge, Chrysler, Toyota. At Ed's, they've been investing in the best diagnostic equipment, and their mechanics are receiving continuous education and training. Call 483-5721 or schedule online at edscarcarecenter.com. For honest, trusted, and knowledgeable car care, it's Ed's Car Care Center, now 45 years strong.
How do you thank the people that add so much to our lives? How do you celebrate a community that brings out the best in all of us? You give back. In 2022, McMahon's Best One gave more than $100,000 to local organizations that are always there to lift us up, to listen, to strengthen us, every one of us. Throughout the year, McMahon's Best One will continue to give back to the community that has given so much to us, bringing out the best in each other, together.
Now back to Talkin Sports with Jim Shovlin on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
And welcome back to Talkin Sports on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. DC Hendrix filling in for Jim Shovlin this morning as his Leo Lions JV program on their way to Goshen for their final game of the season against Fairfield. Shout out to Jim Shovlin. Again, the text line is open, 260-447-8500. If you want to be a part of the show right now. Very excited to be joined by a quick guest, John Nolan, who I've spent many years with here on 1380 The Fan since I started back in 2014, doing games with them, doing shows with them, hanging out with them in the booth in the Tincaps Stadium. But now he's up to big things as he is taking on a new gig with the Indiana Fever. John Nolan joining us here on Talkin Sports this morning. John, good morning.
Good morning, DC. And, hey, we were doing big things together in the fort with the Tincaps and all the coverage here on the Fan over the years. So, yeah, really appreciate your friendship and being an awesome teammate to work with for so long.
Hey, same to you. It wouldn't be a team if it wasn't for the two-way street, man. We both have done great work throughout this time. And now, before we even look ahead to what's next, I do want to kind of look back. You know, obviously it's a big decision to make a big jump, you know, like after spending time so long with the Fort Wayne Tincaps, but just kind of reflect on your time, how you feel today after your tenure with the Tincaps.
Yeah, I feel most of all just grateful, and at this point now, a big Tincaps fan after signing off on the broadcast last weekend. So, yeah, just a tremendous amount of gratitude for upcoming guests, team president Mike Nutter, and everyone else with the Tincaps organization who also has been or was so wonderful to work with. And, yeah, thanks to all the fans here who've tuned in over the years as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quickly before we talk Indiana Fever, what are some of your favorite memories, you know, as you look back on Tincaps? There's a lot of moments. I know we've had a lot of fun with Mike Moss on Name That Tune and stuff like that on air. What was some of your favorite moments?
I was going to say, actually, talking with you in terms of the radio broadcast over the years, you know, this is, on one hand, I could, you know, rattle off some of the big moments like Fernando Tatis Jr. setting the franchise record for home runs, or in 2017, the team making it to the Midwest League Championship Series. But, you know, it's a long season, right? Like at one point, 140 games, nowadays 132 games. And so just to kind of keep things fresh and fun, honestly, when you would be our studio producer, you know, we kind of dubbed you the DJ too. And so try to be on my toes with whatever, you know, music you might be playing to bring us back from break. Of course, you had the deepest catalog of anyone. You know, we're lucky to have Adam Lundy working most of our games these days, too, and he's tremendous in his own way. But, you know, just some of those little things and just all the friendships, and whether it's people in the front office at Parkview Field, with fans, with the game day staff at Parkview Field, and just from players, coaches. One thing I'm really feel fortunate about is just having cross paths with so many different people from all different walks of life. That's one I think one of the best things about getting to be in the sports industry, and specifically a broadcaster and media relations person in minor league baseball.
Yeah, like on one hand, I feel like I'm going to miss you, but on the other hand, I'm not, because we're still going to be talking. It's not like you're moving to, you know, Alaska or something, or Canada, or or in another country. You're literally still going to be in Indianapolis, you know, talking Indiana Fever. So talk about why this gig was right for you.
Yeah, and so for as much as I've loved my time with the Tincaps, just candidly, just like for the players and coaches in most cases, with aspirations of Tincaps guys trying to make the big leagues, for me, I've always wanted to try to elevate my play-by-play broadcasting career as well, and frankly, had the major leagues in mind, or maybe bigger college athletics, something like that. And as everyone's aware here, the Fever have risen in popularity rapidly, really, especially since getting to draft Caitlin Clark last year. And so the Fever have actually not had games on the radio for the last decade, but bringing it back this year. And, was fortunate to be in consideration for the position and to get the position. And so while bittersweet to leave the Tincaps here during this season, excuse me, to have the chance to call games for the best professional women's basketball league in the world, and a really fervent fan base now that the Fever have, it was an opportunity I just didn't want to pass up.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. And then just in the first few games, in case anyone hasn't been able to check it out yet, the Fever are 3 games into the season already, two wins, 1 loss, and the team is already. Look, this is going to be a tough team to beat, Obviously, Caitlin Clark's already going to be tough enough to guard Kelsey Mitchell, but Leah Boston down low. Natasha Howard and Sophie Cunningham have been great so far as well with the Fever. But just kind of talk about your first initial reaction with the team in the first few games.
Yeah, and even going back to 3 preseason games, it's been pretty electric from the jump. So, packed arenas, whether at Cambridge Fieldhouse, or people maybe saw the exhibition game that the Fever played back in Iowa, homecoming for Caitlin. And then Thursday night, they played the Atlanta Dream, who moved their game to State Farm Arena where the Hawks play. That was sold out, more than 17,000 fans. So just the environments have been incredible. And as you touched on, it certainly is more than just Caitlin Clark. And as a matter of fact, Caitlin had, by her standards, certainly a subpar game on Thursday, yet they still found a way to win. They've got several other all-star caliber players, but yeah, just great intensity from the get-go, and that's going to continue today, actually, if anyone's looking for a little bit of a appetizer before the Tincaps Dino Night at 6:35. The Fever are going to be on national TV on CBS, 1 o'clock game against the defending champion New York Liberty. And, not to tune away from 1380 The Fan here, but if you got multiple devices, down in Indy, it's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan, or stream online and through the Fever app. It's going to be a major test here today against the defending champs, the Liberty, who are 2-0 themselves and coming off actually setting a WNBA record a couple nights ago at Chicago. They made 19 threes. So, of course, here in the Fort, we've seen, plenty of prolific three-point shooting between Maria Marquesano's PFW women's basketball team and John Kaufman's men's basketball team. But now between the Liberty and Caitlin and the Fever, geared up for another entertaining game.
Yeah, defending WNBA champions. Good luck, John. Of course, we want to keep up with everything you got going, so we will stay in touch. I am very happy for you, as I'm sure you know. Congrats. Well-deserved, man, and keep in touch. We'll have to bring you on again. Yeah, anytime, DC. Again, appreciate what you do. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in. And yeah, honestly, if it wasn't for a family wedding to go to, I'd probably be hustling back to make Dino Night at Parkview Field tonight. Yeah. And special Sunday night baseball. That was always fun to get the rare Sunday night game tomorrow. More fireworks coming up on the eve of the holiday. So, hope everyone's doing well in the Fort this weekend, and definitely talk soon. Thanks. Yep, thanks so much, John. John Nolan joining us here on Talkin Sports this morning, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Again, text line is open, 260-447-8500. We'll read a couple of texts before the end of the shows. We got to get to those, but quick break. We come back with Mike Nutter, team president of the Fort Wayne Tincaps. Talkin Sports, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
You've waited all year to get to your summer vacation, packing up the car, hitting the highway, going to some place you've dreamed about going for months, maybe even years. Could you imagine the fastest way to ruin that vacation would be to have car problems? You can avoid some common problems by taking your car to Cruzy Automotive Service for a summer road-ready checkup. Just like you prepare with your wardrobe, your packing, everything check, check, check. You also want to make sure the car's ready. And for the giant check mark for your car, you take it one place and one place only. Go where I go. Cruzy Automotive Service. They're conveniently located on Lima Road, north of Wallen, south of Till, right behind the Shell gas station. And right now, to make sure you're fully prepared for your summer trip, you can get a regular 5-quart oil change for as little as $19.95. Call for an appointment, 489-1089. That's 489-1089 for Cruzy Automotive Service.
Want to start a business? Need to update your voter registration? Want to learn more about buying or selling cars? Looking for consumer tips for buying a new or used car? Or do you need information about getting financially fit? You can do it all at your Indiana Secretary of State's office. From supporting entrepreneurs to encouraging eligible voters, we're here to help. Visit us online at sos.in.gov or stop by the office. Our doors are open daily at 7 a.m. This message is sponsored by your Indiana Secretary of State's office.
Are you ready to embrace a new opportunity? Do you get fulfillment out of helping others? Are you a self-starter who loves to make your own schedule and can still work well with others? Maybe you're someone who needs a career with flexible PTO, the flexibility to take the time off when you need to and how often you need to, and are still able to perform your job at the highest level. If this sounds like a fit, we'd love to hear from you. Email your resume to salescareers@federatedmedia.com or text talent to 45364. Federated Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Now back to Talkin Sports with Jim Shovlin on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
DC Hendrix filling in for Jim Shovlin this morning on Talkin Sports here on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. We got about 15 minutes left in the show, so we're going to have to move quickly as we make way for Huntington North and Leo coming up at the top of the hour. Brett Rump will be on the call, so we'll make way for that. But first, we got to talk some Tincaps baseball with the one and only team president, Mr. Mike Nutter, joining us. Mike, good.
The sun is shining, and it's a beautiful day in the Summit City.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. By the way, another big week and both wins yesterday. I got to go to one of the games and had to check out, but got both wins in the doubleheader last night.
It's really nice. We came into this homestand. We were in a great spot for the on-the-field stuff, and we ran up against a buzzsaw in the West Michigan Whitecaps, an incredible team, one of the best records in minor league baseball, and they took it to us, and we came back, and we thought, okay, now on the back half of the 12-game homestand, we got the other first-place team from the West, so it was a tough go, and so far we're 2-2 against Cedar Rapids. The ballpark was jumping last night. It was absolutely a lot of fun, just around 6,000 fans, Girl Scout overnight, fireworks, all kinds of stuff, and we won them both. The place was rocking. We'll be back at it tonight with Dino Night and fireworks again. Still good seats available for anybody listening to us out there. Sometimes Memorial Day weekend is the unofficial opening of the lakes, and obviously the big race tomorrow and all that sort of thing. Great seats available tonight and tomorrow for more fireworks and a lot of fun at the park.
Yeah, absolutely. The entire, scene downtown around the stadium has been rocking. I was there Thursday too, and that was a good vibe. Like, I just got to say, like, even before, and I wasn't even aware of the, pre-show concert. I was there for throwback night for the Wizards, and I get there, and you got, Goo Goo Dolls and throwbacks playing. Talk about Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad you brought that up. So, let's just talk Thursdays generally or globally. We do a pregame concert each Thursday once we get into May and for the rest of the year. And if it lines up, we try and line it up with a theme night. And so you called it. We had a great 90s band out there, absolutely rocking some of the 90s stuff on our throwback to the Wizards. Obviously, Mother Nature didn't cooperate fully on Thursday night. We'd have loved 6,000 or 7,000 fans in there, but we made the best of it. And so we did our Wizards throwback. The players love it. The fans absolutely love it. The last 3 years as Wizards nights have been the 3 single largest merchandise sales nights. We've hit on that nostalgia. Dave Lorenz and Brian Shacko and Jared Parcell and a lot of others that were with the Wizards for years all joke that people didn't really want the gear when we were the Wizards. But now that we're the Tincaps, it's kind of hit on people who grew up going to those games now bringing their kids out and stuff like that, just like you did. And so it's really, really cool. Absolutely great vibes out there. So that one was Thirsty Thursday, Wizards throwback, fireworks, pregame concert. We came into the 4 final days of this long 12-gamer and said, hey, this is the Tincaps unofficial start to summer, even if Mother Nature's been a little slow on the draw this year. And so we had fireworks Thursday night. We had fireworks last night. We have them again tonight. We have them again tomorrow night. We listened to our fan feedback a couple years ago, and they said, we normally love your 105 Sunday games, but not against the race. And we're all fans of the Indy 500. It's sold out this year for the first time in a few years. And so we don't want any part of going up against the largest sporting event in the United States by attendance. And so tomorrow night we'll play an evening game with fireworks. We remind the fans there's no, post-game autographs tomorrow because it would be post-game and that kind of thing. But the Paw Patrol is out there tomorrow. Fireworks are out there tomorrow. We've got Chase out there with us. So tomorrow, 6:35. Tonight, 7:05. It's warmer. It's dry. We've been waiting for the summer to start to pop, and it looks like today and tomorrow it's going to start to get there. So ballpark's going to be jumping. Team's playing well. We're above 500. Come out and see Leo DeVries and the rest of these guys. There's a lot of excitement.
Tons, Mike. And as you mentioned, with Paw Patrol coming up, I don't think I got to even talk to you after this. So one of my highlights so far this year, and we haven't got to talk about it because it's just been that long, and I ended up having another baby too, by the way. So I was out a couple of weeks. But the Daniel Tiger, got to give you official review. The Daniel Tiger event was a highlight. Like, my daughter has still been talking about that event since then, and I think that was like a month ago. So well done on the events that you do for the kids.
Thanks so much, DC. We came into the year, and I think you and I and Jim were talking about it very early. Well, we want to mix things up a little bit, and so we love the superstars and Bird Zirk and all the national entertainers that have come out for years. And we just said we're going to take a break on them for a year, not forever, not long term. They're some of my best friends in the world. And we just wanted to get the kids out there. There's so much stuff going on in life and so much pressure, and, families are stressed, and we're stressed at times with the weather and all this craziness. And we got with our friends at PBS and some other places and just said, let's look at some of this wholesome stuff that we can absolutely do. And so it started with Daniel Tiger and his group, and tomorrow night it's Paw Patrol, and later in the summer it'll be Bluey, and there's all kinds of stuff. And it really, it's kind of a word my daughter throws around sometimes, and we laugh when she says it, but it's really wholesome stuff, and people are telling us in the feedback, just like you just did, hey, we've always loved coming to the ballpark, but this is even more stuff where the little kids and grandkids and all that kind of stuff can meet the people they see on TV every day or most days. So far, so good on the returns and the fan feedback, and you're no different.
Absolutely. Keep doing what you're doing. And as you mentioned, home tonight and tomorrow to complete what seemed like a long homestand, and then on the road for, I think, 2 weeks, right?
Absolutely. So it's been 2 weeks at home, and the first half was bad. I saw Jaden Taylor put in his game notes the other day that we had 6 hours of delays to that point, and it was like, oh, man, don't remind me. But it looks like maybe we're finally through all that stuff. Certainly a lot to be excited about. But, yeah, they'll go on the road for 2 weeks, and then we'll be back, and it'll be an awesome June with 2 normal homestands loaded with promotions. The first one will be the South Bend Cubs, the only time the Cubs affiliate comes in here this year. Local ties. We love local ties. Braden Reisdorf, our old buddy, my son competed against him. Great pitcher. Yeah. Went down to IU. He just got named to the South Bend Cubs this week. He was pitching in low A down in Daytona Beach, Florida, with an ERA below 1. And he is in South Bend now, and we'll welcome our friend and my friend back to the Summit City at that June homestand. So come out here and root on the Caps, but root on a local favorite as well.
Yeah, and I know, of course, Jim will be back next week to highlight some more. But before we get out of here, definitely want you to promote one more time and tell those people how to get those tickets for tonight and tomorrow.
Absolutely. So they can go to tincapstickets.com. We try and keep the fees as low as we can. They can also walk up tonight and tomorrow. Weather's going to be perfect, especially tomorrow, but dry both days. 6:35 Sunday night, Paw Patrol with Chase and fireworks. And then tonight, 6:35, Dino Night and fireworks. Really 2 great kid-friendly promotional days the next couple days. Tickets are the same prices that they've been for years. Get into the ballpark as cheap as $7 and come out and support the Tin Caps on Memorial Day weekend at Parkview Field.
I love it. Nobody does it better. Team president of the Fort Wayne Tincaps, Mike Nutter, joining us here on Talkin Sports this morning. Mike, take care. We will be back next week. Jim will be back in the chair, but take care. Hopefully we pack Parkview Field tonight and tomorrow.
I hope so. Thanks, my friend.
Thanks so much, Mike. Take care. Mike Nutter joining us here on Talkin Sports this morning. Of course, make sure to get out there. I know it's, like you said, Memorial Day weekend. Everybody's off on Monday, but definitely be sure to pack Parkview Field for tonight and tomorrow.
Podcasts by Federated Media.